We need to talk about retirement.
Do you feel like you have enough savings right now?
Absolutely not.
Definitely not, no.
Not at all.
Probably not, no.
Do you think there's any reasons for why saving is so hard right now?
Oh man, you're asking all the questions that keep me up at night. Rent is really high. Groceries are really high.
58% of Gen Z and millennials are not saving enough to retire when they're older. And we're not the only ones. Half of Americans have no retirement savings at all.
Saving for retirement is hard. For families, it's super hard. You got to buy stuffies, you got to buy ice creams.
The asset price has gone up, our wages are still low.
But whose fault is that?
Are they just lazy, I guess?
I believe we can blame late-stage capitalism.
According to these guys, it might be the government?
Increase the age on Social Security, means test Social Security so not everyone gets it.
You have the fiscally unsustainable reality that is Social Security, a giant pyramid scheme with an aging population. Everyone knows we're either going to have to radically increase taxes or radically reduce benefits in the next few years.
Jim Cramer and the CEO of BlackRock, who's worth $1.3 billion, think it might actually be your fault.
Younger people, they don't know how to invest.
No. Well, I don't think also the younger generation knows where and who to listen to.
It's gotten so bad, even working Americans think it's their own fault they can't retire.
When I was younger, and if things had went better, I wouldn't be going to work this morning. I'd be going fishing, or I'd be going hunting, and I blame myself for it.
That's bleak. So is it our fault that none of us have decent savings? Did millions of Americans just get really bad at financial literacy? I had to investigate. Who killed America's retirement? And don't worry, it's not completely hopeless. Stay till the end and we'll talk about what states are doing to help all working people save money. I ended up talking to 3 people about what retirement looks like in America, how people save, what employers used to offer and what they offer now, and if Social Security, like Ben Shapiro said, is going to totally run out before I get old.
If we don't raise the retirement age or privatize Social Security, we will go insolvent.
But before we get started, let's do a brief history of retirement in the United States. For a long time, at the end of your working life, you were basically just on your own or lived in what was called, I kid you not, a poorhouse.
And so they were forced to become wards of public charity.
Then in 1935, Franklin D. Roosevelt established Social Security.
Something had to be done. Something was done.
Which is a guaranteed benefit for all Americans that you pay into your whole life. So now most people today rely on 3 things when they retire. Whatever you have saved, Social Security, and whatever you get from your employer, which can be a pension or a 401k. But pensions are a lot like smoking on an airplane. Basically, only people born before 1960 got to experience it. But it was something that 52% of full-time workers had back in 1970. And that was especially true of union workers. So let's start there.
When I first started at Ford Motor Company, I had been a waitress with 3 kids, a single mom. It was the best thing I thought could ever happen to me. My father worked for Ford. He always told me, you need to find a job with security. This is it. Never really wanted to go somewhere where I had to stay inside for 40 hours a week. But I got there and I got my first paycheck and I thought, this isn't bad.
This is Sherry Kraft in Livonia, Michigan. She is a 3rd-generation auto worker.
So my grandfather worked his 30 years. He retired. He had a pension. He had health care. At 81 years old, he got lung cancer. Without his health care, the family would have been financially devastated.
Pensions are what's known as a defined benefit plan. That means that while you're working at the company, your boss sets aside a certain amount every month, no matter what, and then you get a monthly check when you retire. In 2004, Ford Motors stopped offering pensions to its employees, and a few years later, auto companies like Chrysler and GM did the same. GM claimed that pensions were just too expensive and made it impossible to compete internationally, so they introduced something else, the 401k.
When I hired in, it was just an uncertainty. Am I gonna have a future here? Can I buy a house? Can I move out of my parents? Can I buy a car? All of those things were very difficult.
This is Sherry's daughter, Sarah. She's a 4th-generation auto worker, but her time at Ford has been a lot different. For one, she doesn't have a pension.
Our 401k is based off what the stock market's doing. Depends on what president's in office. When COVID hit, I lost money. Every time I got something in the mail saying how much I have in my 401k, it was more than $300 less than what I had last month. I can't live on that. When we hired in, we knew that we weren't getting a pension and we knew that we weren't getting health care when we retired, but why should it be any different between me and my mother?
Yeah, you earned it too.
In this one family, you can see the impact of the shift from pensions to 401ks. Sarah's story is like a lot of other workers. Unless you're a government worker, like a teacher or a firefighter, you probably don't have a pension. Just look at this chart. Only 15% of people in the private sector get pensions now. How did the 401k overtake the pension? It's actually a pretty new invention. In 1980, a consultant for major banks named Ted Benna found a very boring but very consequential change in our tax system that would allow businesses to create savings accounts for employees that were tax deferrable. This was the Tax Revenue Act of 1978, Section 401, subsection K. Unlike a pension plan, the 401k was a defined contribution plan, meaning you put in a certain amount of your money every month, which your employer may or may not match. This idea was actually revolutionary. Benna went to old school companies like Bethlehem Steel and told them, hey, you could save a lot of money doing this. And they were appalled. They were like, no way, we take care of our workers for life. And every other company in America said the same exact thing. Just kidding. Other companies like Johnson & Johnson and Pepsi were ready to jump on the opportunity. And soon, 401ks were everywhere.
There is an aspect of saving for retirement that's been turned into gambling.
Teresa Ghilarducci says the decline of pensions and the rise of 401ks has made retirement a whole lot harder and created a lot of inequality. Those issues can be broken down to the structure of the 401k itself, tax benefits, and hidden fees.
In your do-it-yourself 401k system, so not only does the worker in a 401k model have to decide whether or not to be in a retirement account, but that worker also has to decide how much to put in the account.
See, unlike pensions, 401ks are, for the most part, opt-in. So while 67% of workers have access to a 401k, only 49% actually use it. And they're also opt-out, meaning you can take out cash for life emergencies or with a fee for non-emergencies. And a lot of people do. In 2020, for example, 30% of people dipped into their IRA or 401ks for extra money.
Who usually takes the money out before retirement? Lower income people.
401ks are also tax deferrable, meaning you put income into your account before taxes, which saves you money. But because of the way our tax system is set up, that means more tax savings for high-income people and lower tax savings for the rest of us. The other problem is that 401ks have fees that most people don't know about. In the 1980s, when they were brand new, employers would cover the operating costs of 401ks. But companies, in a strange twist of events, have gotten a lot more greedy. Now, employees are responsible for most of those operating costs, as well as hefty fees for asset managers who are the guys handling your retirement savings. Pensions, on the other hand, are pooled together by your employer, and that giant pot of money means companies can spread financial risk across a large group and get significantly lower fees.
So the system was really rigged against over half of the population of workers. That's why most Americans don't have enough savings.
The decline of pensions and the rise of the 401k has translated to a big loss of wealth for working people. But there's another big change in the American economy that we need to talk about. The growing number of people, especially in younger generations, who are doing gig work, part-time, or freelance jobs. Those workers don't have 401ks or pensions. So how do they save for retirement? What's that? I'm one of them. How do we save for retirement? Well, there's only one benefit that is guaranteed in this country, and that is Social Security. No matter what I do for work, whether I'm full-time or self-employed, I will get that sweet, sweet check when I'm too old to work on these videos or give foot massages to AI or whatever my job ends up being.
Social Security is like a massive pension plan. Everybody who works for a living is enrolled in Social Security, and your employer is automatically enrolled. It pays out benefits not in a lump sum, but it pays out benefits for the rest of your life.
And it's wildly popular. 79% of Americans don't want to see it cut at all. So politicians wouldn't go after something that's so universally loved, right?
The Republican Party has always been against Social Security. And in their campaign to make government smaller and to have less regulation, they realized that they had to attack the most popular program.
Around the same time that Ted Benham was manipulating the tax code, right-wing think tanks like the Cato Institute and the Heritage Foundation were devising a way to dismantle Social Security.
For young workers entering the workforce today, even if they receive all the Social Security benefits they're promised under current law, the program will still be a miserable deal for those workers, given the enormous tax burdens they face over their careers.
And in the 1980s, these right-wing think tanks had a very powerful ally.
Ronald Reagan came into power. That administration also oversaw a cut in Social Security. Full retirement age increased from 65 gradually to now it's 67.
When people retire because of health reasons before the age of 67, they aren't eligible for full Social Security benefits. So raising the retirement age is really a cut in benefits. So fast forward to today, and people over 65 are currently the fastest growing population living in poverty. A big part of that is due to the fact that Social Security is actually pretty low. In 2024, the average Social Security beneficiary gets just over $1,800 per month. So what happens to those people? They live happily ever a lot of them go back to work.
He likes to work and needs to work, but I feel guilty too because he's having to work at his age.
That's Tom Coomer. He actually did have a pension from his job at McDonnell Douglas, where he had worked his entire life. But the company shut down and merged with Boeing a year before Tom was eligible for a full pension. Now he and his wife live off a little over $3,000 a month. When seniors like Tom return to the workforce, they typically earn 20% less than they did before they retired and have to do more physically demanding jobs. As a country, we've made a lot of decisions that have made retirement almost impossible for millions of people. There are fewer good union jobs like the one Sherry Kraft had at Ford, and with that, fewer pensions. The introduction of 401ks tied our future to the stock market. So now when you go to take those 401k funds at 67, you might find your money is turned into a loose paper clip and a gum wrapper. It's not the fault of young people or gig workers, Uber drivers or Walmart workers who have to work into their 80s. It's these guys. But if you're freaking out right now, don't, because there are solutions. The first is to strengthen Social Security. The Social Security Enhancement Act would tax income over $250,000 to increase Social Security benefits for all. According to a report from the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, adding this tax to just the top 10 CEOs' income would generate $147 million for Social Security.
Let's go, girls.
Pensions don't have to be a thing of the past. In the UK, corporations like Uber have been forced to provide pensions. Why should they play by different rules here? And even though Ford and GM didn't budge on reinstituting pensions, workers are going to keep fighting against their employers. And there's things that states and the federal government can do. Teresa supports the Retirement Savings for Americans Act.
So it would mandate that every worker who doesn't have a retirement account put in at least 1%, and the government would match it up to 3%.
Some states have also introduced savings accounts like IRAs that workers can auto-enroll in, whether their employer offers a savings account or not. In 2022, Congress made all new 401k plans automatic instead of opt-in like they are now. This means more people will be contributing to their 401ks. Union jobs are a lot more likely to offer a retirement plan than non-union. And from that, we can take a lesson from Sherry and Sarah and other UAW workers.
Now it is day 5 of the UAW strike against the big three.
GM, Ford, and Chrysler owner Stellantis.
Pension, pay, these are the issues that attracted these workers to the picket line.
The companies are trying to drive a race to the bottom, and we're better than that. America's better than that.
UAW ultimately won a 40% wage increase over a 4-year contract and a 10% match on their 401ks. Sarah says she's happy about these wins, but they lost the fight to restore pensions. They won't get another chance until their next contract negotiations with Ford in 2028.
And I'm not looking to retire until I know that my children are solvent, like most parents. I'm gonna be here to fight, to make sure that they have those things.
We're the ones that make their profit. The people here in this building on the floor, they're the ones that make sure that Ford is profitable. So why not share in that wealth to make sure that their employees, for the rest of their life, they have a decent living?
Before you go, please support our work by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. And thank you for watching The Classroom. We're always trying to tell more stories just like this one, unpacking economic systems that impact all of our daily lives. So what other issues do you want to see covered? Let us know in the comments. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe.